We're going.
Yeah.
No purpose here.
Cut it. Hi guys, welcome to the first episode of Coffee Hour, even though we're not really drinking coffee. So today we're going to be talking about gentrification, specifically because it's such a really huge thing where we are in our city, Birmingham, Alabama. But we have the pleasure of educating these lovely two ladies right here about gentrification and how it's been affecting Birmingham city-wise and the outside areas. So for those of you out there that don't really know what gentrification is either, we're going to spit out this definition for you. So gentrification is defined as the process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle-class taste.
I would just say that like what I understood was the renovating of lower income homes to
And areas, period, not just homes. Just like areas as a whole.
Oh, just the whole lower income place. But what you said off camera was that in the process they're raising prices. And I don't understand.
So it's kind of like, because usually in lower income areas, housing cost is lower and property cost is lower. So it's kind of seen as an opportunity for different businesses to move into the neighborhood to set up shop, if that makes any sense. So if a community all of a sudden has a really fancy kind of cafe or a fancy new restaurant, that's going to attract other businesses and other people, namely people who can afford a $5 bowl or like gourmet cereal.
So what would be an example of like
so I would say the Avondale area would be an example.
Yeah.
Because you have one side of the tracks that's like lower income, and then the other side of the tracks that has like Saturdays in the other areas.
yeah, Saturdays.
So the conundrum with gentrification is that on one hand it like brings in new businesses, and usually when new businesses come move into a community, new interest also moves into a community, and then more money goes into the community, and they start building parks, they start being more police, they start crime rates go down, that sort of thing. But on the flip side, people who can't afford the rising housing costs and property taxes and those type of things, they get pushed out because they can no longer afford to live in that area.
Where are they going?
Exactly.
That's the point.
That's the thing. So specifically for Birmingham, Alabama, there's a lot of people that are namely black that fit into the criteria of not being able to afford these houses and stuff like that. People that are in lower income areas like Ensley, that they're also just now starting renovation on. But I know they're building some new stuff in Ensley. But like another example would be there are some apartments by 5 Points that are getting renovated, and the people around there were projects essentially. There are some projects that are over by 5 Points, and one of my classmates in my ethno class, they did their semester project on those people and how that is affecting them. And so essentially they're giving them a runaround because they're supposed to give them some kind of incentive for whether it is money to be able to find another place to live, or it is giving them coming to a conclusion, some kind of middle ground for them to be able to afford the new housing that's going to be there.
So what you're telling me is that they're coming in, polishing and shining up people's places, and then basically kicking them out.
Essentially. So it's not supposed to be like that per se, because obviously that's bad press. Obviously that's inhumane. We can talk about it for days.
They can flip it and advertise it in a way where it sounds good, but they also don't.
And essentially that's what they're doing, especially at that place that I was just talking about, where they're making it seem like they really actually care. But then this lady that's been living in, I can't remember, I wish I could quote the name, but these specific projects that I'm talking about.
The video.
At the thing, where she's just talking about like they're supposed to be doing this and that for us. We haven't seen a meeting. We haven't talked to anyone. All we just keep hearing are these general, spurts of good news from them about what they're going to do to take care of these people that have been living here for years.
And that's why I bring up the Avondale community. It's kind of like this catch-22 thing, because it's not supposed to be a bad thing, because you want your neighborhood to have a new park, you want them to have better policing, you want them to have new restaurants and or at least it to be a safer community. But then at the cost of that, you've got people who
you want that to happen in your community, but not if it's going to have them forcing you out of your own
Yeah, and that's the thing too, and that's like the catchy thing that people keep trying to find a solution for. Like, how do we like make the community better without
people buy it? But I don't get why that's so difficult.
It's difficult because it costs them money. Like in the business world, people just don't, especially when it's people that like come from outside places, aren't exposed to the way that people are living in these lower income areas, and it's so easy for them to be inhumane because they've never experienced it, they've never seen these people, they've never talked to these people, they can't humanize these people if they're not exposed to it. So like, and a great example of this is when I was doing like my paper, which I talk about a lot more frequently than I should, but somehow, and I didn't plan this, but my entire like 4 papers of that summer ended up coming around gentrification. It's like downtown is a huge like example of the venues and the buildings that they've renovated, like the Thomas Jefferson Hotel that used to be a really famous thing back in the early 1900s type thing, and they renovated it recently into an apartment complex. Around that area downtown, they have the Pizzits, that's an old building, the Florentine building, that's an old building, that they've all like renovated these spaces to not exactly completely like destroy them because they have rich history. Birmingham is rich with history, like heavily. And so that's a part of the fight too, because these people that have lived here for decades and their families have lived here for decades and that were employed by the mines that they had around these areas. And that's essentially where these buildings were, these neighborhoods were built around. These places where people have to go to work every day and there's stores and stuff, exactly. Where they started not having coal mines and not needing steel mines anymore, not needing people to do this work anymore, these factories shut down. So the more these factories shut down, the more the neighborhoods obviously start to dwindle. And that's where these lower income areas kind of just kind of start breaking down, not having money to get into these areas to kind of, be replenished. And so it's kind of like a bittersweet thing because you go through these towns, like I've driven through these places. We've been to Ensley before, that's where my mechanic is. And you see these houses and stuff like that, and you see the obvious evidence of crime. You see like the house is broken down, you see just damage everywhere, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing because you want these people to be better, but not in the way that the other people from outside are coming in and changing it up in a way because they have the money so they can essentially control and do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with that is like, you want those people to be better, but you want those people to be better. Like you're not trying to empty that place out for other people who can afford it to come in. Like if you're gonna help people, I feel like help people.
But see, that's not the thing. That's not what they're trying to do. That's not the goal.
It was like Red Birmingham.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Red Birmingham is one of those things that they're basically kind of like a business incubator. Like they give people the tools to like start their own business and like that sort of thing. So that's one of the things that, or one of the organizations in place that was trying to kind of like help people in the community kind of like be able to build a business in their community.
And I'm not gonna say it's as bad in Huntsville as it is in Birmingham, but it is really bad in certain areas.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue that I had is like I saw when I was younger, but because I was younger, I didn't understand what I was seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like the same, like stuff would happen, things would tear down. There would be issues in an entire apartment building, and it's where like in Madison or like some better area, things are fixed like that. But then in those lower income places like the projects, because I had family living there.
Yeah.
So I was there all the time.
Yeah.
And like when you see that, and you see like there are bullet holes in freaking walls of people's actual homes, and it's taking them like 6 months to fix the wall, as to where like an entire building shuts down in Madison. It takes them all of a week to get that back up. And I'm just like, and when I got older and realized, like how much they really just don't be caring about these people just because they don't have enough money or whatever. They just ready to just push them off to the side. And like I don't think I've ever seen like an example in Huntsville of gentrification necessarily, because I ain't seen them really revitalize anything. They don't have like that open window for people to come in and move the lower incomes out. And although they still get ignored and things don't get done the way they need to, nobody is booting them out of where they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like Huntsville is luckier. And I feel like they probably do the same things in Atlanta because they like really focus on those downtowns and trying to like up Midtown and all that other stuff. But in the surrounding areas, it's pretty daggone bad up there.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the subject? like having it overpaid. But like I see it a lot here in Birmingham.
Like, I don't have to drive over 5 potholes to get to my destination every day.
Yeah.
Like that can be quick and easily fixed, and essentially to fix potholes.
Yes, they have this like promo right now where like it's kind of like protecting your pizza. So like,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
the pizza doesn't get messed up, so you can call them or like send them an email. They'll come and fix your pothole.
Anyways, Pizza Hut doing more than y'all in these towns. Like, I don't understand.
I think it would be easier, like, to humanize these people, because I feel like the people that come in, like, it's the motivations behind it that matter the most. Like, people are like, it's a means to an end, but I feel like the way you do something does matter.
I'm so sorry. It's not pizza. It's Papa John's. It's Domino's.
Oh, it's Domino's.
I was about to say, Papa John's was not
It's Domino's. Yeah, it's Domino's is fixing potholes and roads with paving for pizza initiative.
That's
Sorry, Domino's.
That's cute.
Domino's.
Like, yeah, like I feel like, people coming into these places are like, oh, we're gonna fix it the community. Like, if I was in a community like that, I would immediately not trust it. Because I'm like, I don't know you. You don't know anything about us. You don't know anything about our community.
That's what these people feel. They feel invaded.
That's what it is. And these people, and they don't care. Like, they're not putting themselves in. I was like, it'd be one thing if you saw any amount of evidence that they are actually putting forth the effort. You said yourself that, like, they're not hearing from these people, except for these generalized statements.
Has like the council heard about it? Like,
yeah, I mean, the council itself is supposed to be like the middle ground for it, and they themselves, it's just like, from what I can remember from the film, it was just a really messy communicative, and actually they fought, like, that's what a part of it was, because they did end up fighting back for it.
Yeah.
And they had like maybe like one day of some kind of expo, and I can't remember
I remember that
I think it was it to like help them find better, like, more housing or something like that?
I think it was kind of like an open forum, kind of like housing thing too. Because like, I remember like the sticky notes on like the poster boards, where people can write their like opinions and their concerns.
So like they try to, and I think that I think that Birmingham is a strong enough community to where if we get everybody on the middle ground, because the thing is, like, the people that are trying to come in aren't always the ones that are the bad guys. Like, we get so, like, especially as black people, and everything that we've been through over the decades, and I can only imagine what it's like in Birmingham, because this was the hub for racism. Like, literally, this is where it all happened. So it's just kind of like, it's not uncommon for these people to want to stick to their communities and stick to what they've known for years, but that also hurts them, because say there's a company, a chain of like coffee shops, since we're on the topic, that want to come out and like open a coffee shop around there, but all these people do are turn their noses up and treat them badly because they're aliens, and because they, because they're new, and because they're afraid, and they don't know exactly. But like, you don't know that these people can be just as good as they are bad. These people can genuinely want to help, but people don't naturally reach out to people that, that are so closed off and seem like intimidating, as people think that black people are anyway.
I mean, I think that's a tricky situation.
It is.
Usually, we've been shown that 9 times out of 10, big business does not have your best interests at heart.
Yeah, even if it's a mom and pop, like
really,
donut place or something like that.
It's really hard to even want to put yourself in the position to let them in and then screw you over like that. So automatically, I feel like as a people, minorities tend to, like, their first defense is to just kind of like be completely evasive and be like, no, it's not happening.
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, when it comes to something as heavy as like leaving your home, like, you can't really just sit there and just let it happen and just like talk gossip with your family about how bad it is.
You gotta get out there, you gotta
do something. Especially when people come forward to you and they're like, like, this is not right. We see this happening on the outside. We may not know you, but we understand the situation. We know that this is not right. Would you like to retaliate? We can do something. Sign this petition. We're making this film. We're gonna put it out there. Like, they don't. Big business also don't like press. Heavy. Like, that can be literally something. And I think that that if we can all get on some kind of level or some kind of consensus where people at least half treated like humans in these lower income areas, more than half, full humans, I'm sorry, but you get my point, where we need some kind of middle ground to where these people get what they deserve, get their heritage preserved, and these businesses can still make money, because essentially, like, it's not like you're not getting money from these low income people either. It might not be as much, and I understand the loss, but like, I guess a lot of people are just willing to risk it for a bigger buck.
It has to be a community effort. Like, in a perfect world, if a company, or even, like I said, even if a mom and pop donut place is moving into their community, like, hire the people who like live in that community. You know what I mean? Like, show that you're trying to, learn more about them and learn about more. Because I mean, those people essentially can turn around and be your customers. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just.
You gotta put in the effort. I feel like it takes effort from both sides. Which is why like middle ground, like common ground, like you said, is so important, because it takes something from both sides. And I feel like both sides are not helping the issue
not at all.
as much as they could be. And like I feel like it takes two to tango, and nothing's gonna get done.
Honestly, and I think that like in Birmingham, that's where we're at now. It's just like so many people are so passionately angry.
You're
Exactly.
just gonna put that.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you can sit in a group and be angry about it together, then you should be as a group going out and doing
Exactly.
something.
Doing something about it. Yeah. Just go to petition these companies. Riot. Like
just don't bring anything, please.
Right. Don't be mad about it. Just calm down.
Cars.
Get you some signs. March around our properties.
Get just a nice little sign.
Right.
Like, don't spray paint things. I don't know.
Violence is never the answer.
Literally like, oh, look at these people. They're like running around and breaking.
Yeah, you know that it's the worst issue.
Don't do that.
It's gonna bring bad press to your community instead of where you're trying to focus.
And I really wish that I personally had a bigger or can continue to have a bigger hand. And just helping these communities find a bigger a middle ground, because I think Birmingham has done a wonderful job of being diverse and being just all of these wonderful buzzwords that I can come up with right now to describe it. But it's all of that is kind of hidden under these surrounding areas that are super poor, and then this passive aggressive fighting that's going back and forth with these people, these companies versus these people that have been living here long enough. And I think it's incredibly selfish of the companies, obviously, and it's incredibly closed-minded of the people that have been living here to not want change and to not, completely be closed-minded to it. Because, I understand the bitter, it's bitter because you've been accustomed to one way all your life, but change is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, and it is inevitable. It's going to happen. Whether you like it or not, whether you die on this earth, whether you're not.
I think it's harder for older people.
Right, yeah.
I think the younger people, we're in a situation where we understand that change isn't we understand change and we're for it. We're
Yeah.
But older people who are kind of it seems the older that people get, they get set in their ways.
Yeah.
Not even in every aspect. You notice that older people, they're just because that's not how I was raised, and we're not gonna
That's not how to do it. It's just, what does how to do it mean?
Yeah. Like I said, well, there's more than one way.
Yeah.
There
really is. You gotta broaden your perspective.
There's a way to bring change and good change to the community, and everyone wants a safe community, safe and shiny community to live in. But there has to be a way to do it without sacrificing.
Yeah, people's whole lives.
Yeah.
That's the issue. You guys have to find the way to better these communities, make them all shiny and neat and pretty, but also not evict people for for no cause.
But as of right now, nothing is really happening.
I wouldn't. Yeah, it's been at a stale for a while, but I haven't really checked in on any recent 2018 news on anything that's been the only thing I've really heard about is the stadium. I know that's coming.
Yeah. There's a stadium coming. I think it's a $40 million something. But hey, Alabama's building a $600 million.
That's a whole other conversation.
But they can do that. But that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's coffee hour. Almost forgot the name of the series. If you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any suggestions or any kind of input into the situation, what we've talked about today, obviously we're just talking about our city, but it's much bigger than the problems that are happening in our city. But leave a comment down below. Let us know what your ideas are for potentially fixing this problem. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye, guys.
Bye.